Okay.
Welcome. Hello, everyone. If you're joining, a few notes. Firstly, welcome. When you chat us, which you should, and let us know where you are joining from today. Make sure you change your chat settings to send to everyone instead of hosts and panelists. The meeting is being recorded. It'll be shared out with anyone who registered. And yeah, if you have questions, once we start, you can certainly use the chat to ask us questions directly, but we're going to have time for Q&A at the end. So leave your questions in the Q&A box, and we will get to them. Welcome. I see Israel, London, Frankfurt, Leicester, New York, Arkansas, welcome. Oakland, New York, Texas. All right. I think it would be also interesting to know, we have a lot of different there's a lot of different roles in higher education. Let us know if you're teaching, if you're a professor, if you're an administrator, maybe the institution you're associated with. All of it is relevant and interesting. Professor and admin. Cool. AI educator, language teacher, community college professor. You will all learn this in a few minutes, but I also have an academic background, um, pre-generative AI, so things are pretty different. All right, we'll get started in just a couple minutes. Is anyone brand new to Gamma? Because I'm already seeing some familiar names in the chat. Maybe you can rank your level of familiarity, with 5 being super familiar with Gamma, 1 being I just heard about it today. Okay. 5, a 3, a 5, 7 or 8. I myself am like a 3.5, even though I work at Gamma. So um, great. Okay, maybe a 3. All right, we'll get started in just a minute. Good. Yes. Damien's definitely a 5. Irina's definitely a 5. This has been verified independently and by me. All right. Let's get things started. This is the Higher Ed Power Hour. Gamma, you already know why you're here. But you may not know our mission, which is helping people bring their ideas to life. People have ideas. Too often, those ideas never make it out into the world. So our vision is to provide access to the best tools so that anyone can share their ideas effortlessly. The question we ask ourselves, sort of when we get up in the morning, is what if creation felt like pure imagination? I know from my own experience that teachers and professors, uh, the work that you do doesn't always feel like pure imagination, though it should. So hopefully we're here to help with that. And this is our first ever global public event for educators. We've just started doing global events in general. And educators are actually, to me, like a surprisingly huge part of our user base. Teachers, students, K through 12 as well, though we're focused on higher ed here. So it seemed like a no-brainer to do this. And in terms of timing, we were thinking you all have the fall semester coming up, so maybe you'd benefit from learning some more about how to use Gamma in your workflow. So today's team, it's actually bigger than what you see on the slide, but I'm Akiva Gottlieb. I'm the content lead at Gamma. And really my role encompasses a lot of user education, which we're going to be doing a lot more of later this year. A lot of you already know Amanda. She's our community manager. And then we have two very special guests today. The first one is Dr. Irina Gokh, who is an associate professor of education at De Montfort University, which is in Leicester, England. Hopefully I pronounced all of that correctly. And then Dr. Damien Germino, who is an associate dean of operations at the School of Nursing at Mercy University, which is in New York. Damien is a longtime Gamma power user, certainly since before I even knew about Gamma. So very familiar face to us, and hopefully will be familiar to some of you as well. We also have in the chat Hillary and Deho from our customer experience team. We have Nick, who's a product designer and absolutely one of the power users on our staff. So Nick has raised his hand. Do you want to say something?
Sorry, I meant to wave, but I couldn't find this.
Oh, all good.
The wave
He's not a
emoji.
power user of Zoom, clearly,
Oh.
but he is a power user of Gamma. Today's agenda, and again, this will be recorded. We will start off with a welcome and intro, let you know why I think Gamma works so well for educators. I will walk us through some education use cases. We'll be doing some live Gamma building, which is always fun, and some unexpected things can happen. Then we'll move on to a couple interviews. We're going to talk to Irina and Damien. They'll each have about 10 minutes to talk about some of the creative ways they're using Gamma in the classroom. And then we'll have a community Q&A at the end. So please use the Q&A tool in Zoom. And feel free to pose questions to Irina and Damien as well. We'll try to get all those answered, save maybe 10, 15 minutes at the end. And then we will wrap it up. But let's get started. So firstly, a quick poll. What's your biggest time sink when you're creating educational content or classroom materials? When you're up at like 3 a.m. The night before a class, what is it that you're doing that you wish there was an easier way? It's possible that we have a bunch of Gamma power users, so there's no challenges here, but I'll give you another going through my Gamma deck and cleaning up pictures. Okay. That is definitely real. We'll be doing some of that today. Formatting slides, visualizations, data charts. Yeah, those are never easy. Anyone else? Okay, well, whatever it is, I hope we can help. But first, let me share my story. So I wasn't always the content lead at Gamma. In fact, I've only been here since the start of this year. But long, long ago, I was actually a PhD candidate in English language and literature at the great University of Michigan. And that is a very big university where grad students are actually expected to teach. So I taught writing and literary analysis to first-year students. I had very minimal training as a teacher. They kind of just throw you in there. I'm sure that's what they still do. When I was an undergrad, I went to a very small college where we had, 15 folks to a classroom. We knew our professors very well. So this model was very new to me. I was like 3 years older than a lot of the students I was teaching. So it was a little scary. This wasn't like that long ago, but I remember using printed Word docs and a slide projector for in-class activities. So wasn't even using PowerPoint. Honestly, it would have been hard to figure out. Like this was the dongle era. or I would need to figure out how to connect my MacBook or whatever it was to the computer screen. So things have changed a lot in the past decade. But I would say conservatively that I spent around 60% of my content creation time on formatting, design, and hunting for images, instead of focusing on pedagogy and student engagement. So really all I wanted to do was teach writing, like work with text. But it was always clear to me that this wasn't the best way to engage with young college students. I do want to point out that I had a 4.8 on Rate My Professors. I'm not sure how important that website is today, but a lot of us, I remember agonizing over this 4 out of 5, but it's always there, and hopefully this shows that I'm to be trusted. But moving on, at Gamma, when we think about educators, we know that anyone who works in higher ed is creating a lot of content regularly, presenting to an audience other than themselves, and your success in the classroom is dependent on the quality of your content. And pain points that we've seen in conversations with educators like Irina and Damien, time constraints being a super obvious one, lack of design skills. This isn't universal for teachers, but it was certainly the case for me. A desire for polished, consistent output, and then just finding ways to keep students engaged, which I'm sure is like 100 times harder now than it was for me a decade ago. In terms of why educators choose Gamma, it's not that different from a lot of our other personas. So speed and efficiency. We're working with 20 plus AI models for our images. So hopefully we're always giving you the best results there. It's all in one creation. So, you're creating presentations, you're creating documents, websites, portfolios, can all be done in Gamma. The hope is that when content creation becomes more effortless, you can focus entirely on student outcomes. And then super important, professional quality, having every piece of content look polished and engaging, regardless of your design skills. So now I'm going to move into Gamma to do a quick tour of some of our core features. So maybe we can do some live building to highlight some core functionality. So question for the group. The most basic use of Gamma, which I think we all know, is you can give it a one-line prompt and generate some kind of presentation. So let's say we wanted to create an in-class presentation from a one-line prompt. Is there anything that would be relevant or useful to the folks in the chat? If not, I have plenty of ideas, but what do you want to see a presentation on? A presentation on syllabus development. That's very meta, because we're going to do a syllabus later on. Any others? Cultural differences in business etiquette. I like that one. Fan engagement for sports marketing. Okay. What do we think? These are all good. Let's do sports marketing. So Tyler, for that one, okay, let's get in there. Let's generate. Tell me a little bit more. We want a presentation. Do we have an audience in mind? Is it college first years? Is it grad students in a marketing program? A little more color here would help. Okay. So a presentation on fan engagement for sports marketing for an audience of university first year students. Let's get it down to 8 cards. I honestly don't even know what fan engagement for sports marketing is, so I'm going to learn a lot here. So this is generating. Okay. So I don't know if you've all seen this, but in terms of customizing your Gamma, you can now customize the amount of text per card. I think concise is a good default here because we're doing a presentation. although plenty of academics will want to use detailed or extensive if we're highlighting a lot of text. For themes, let's go with terracotta. And then image source is really important. We can do web images. I often like to do illustrations. We have all kinds of AI images, animated GIFs. Let's stick with web images for now. I'm sure we're going to want to do some correcting there. So while this generates, I think we all know that Gamma is great at generating dynamic content from an initial prompt. But really, like my entire feeling about Gamma is that everything gets better once you familiarize yourself with our editing tools. So if you've ever used anything here in the insert menu, this is really the key to creating great Gammas. But one amazing thing is that now you have the ability to edit just using plain language with a chatbot. So I'll show you how to do that. Okay. Fan engagement in sports marketing, connecting fans to the game. Interestingly, I don't see an image loading here. This might be my Wi-Fi. Okay, I know that I don't like this photo. So let's click in here. Very detailed web image search. I don't love the watermark. Let's just do, wow, this is very detailed. Diverse group of students. Let's see what we get. That one does not fit well. But one thing we can do is restyle the card. Let's do right layout. Okay, already a little bit better. One other thing here, this is one of our new smart diagrams. So we can also change that up if we want to. I'm not sure why this image is not showing up, but let's find a different one. Actually, let's see if this one wants. Okay. So one thing I am already thinking about is I would love for this to be more engaging. So for example, here, instead of an image, I'd love to have a YouTube video. Let's see what YouTube has for loyal fans. Okay, a lot of OnlyFans, loyal sports fans. Okay, I'm not gonna have time to watch this video, but let's assume we wanted to link to Sports Illustrated, which pro team has the most loyal fan base in sports. You take this out, add the YouTube video here, and there's a video for people to watch to understand better, how to build fan loyalty, how to do that emotional connection. Another thing we could do here in a prompt, if we're thinking about a classroom, is add a assignment at the end and see what Gamma comes up with. So if there was an assignment here at the bottom, we could do something like add a Google form to collect responses. But let's do one more that is relevant to the work I'm doing. So I'm currently reading, or actually rereading, Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert, famous 19th century French novel. So what if I wanted ideas on how to teach it? One thing I could do is say generate a lesson plan to review chapters 1 through 5 of Madame Bovary for first year college students in a literature class. Again, go down to 8 cards. Because Madame Bovary is in the public domain, I expect it to have a pretty good understanding, even without me submitting any of my own notes. This all seems generally accurate, takes us through chapter 5. Themes to explore and discussion, I love that. Classroom activities and questions. So it really took the prompt of lesson plan to heart. This is something I can present in a classroom. Again, concise, heritage. Again, let's stick with web images. I'm sure I will want to fix these. Let's see what we get here. So this would have been super helpful to me. When I was at University of Michigan, I was teaching discussion sections of a Shakespeare course. Shakespeare also in the public domain. So we'll just give this one more minute. I see plenty here that I could use for a discussion. Okay. Images are going to take a second to load. But anyway, it's just not going fast enough. The point here is that you can develop a lesson plan from a one-line prompt. However, I don't think this process is really built for academic rigor. In a lot of cases with AI-generated material, you'll want to check the facts. You'll definitely want to make changes. But what it can do is improve and greatly speed up the design process. But I think since we're talking about academics, as academics, we all have our own expertise. And the best use of Gamma, in my opinion, is to augment that expertise through design. So I'm going to give you an example of something that I wish I had while teaching. So when I was young, I published a long article about the films of Clint Eastwood and their impact on American society, and I put months of time and energy into research and writing. But let's say I was teaching a course on film and society, and I want to figure out how to teach it to college students. So what I would do is take the text, the full text of the article, which, as I mentioned, is long. Let's go into Gamma, paste it in. So we're giving it very rich context here compared to saying, give me a lesson on Madame Bovary. In this case, definitely want to summarize into something more presentable. I bet we want to summarize it even more once we see what it looks like. Let's go to concise. For themes, Clint Eastwood, we could go a little darker. Try this. Image source will do web images because I want people to see his face and images from the movies. And yeah, I did it as a web page. Let's give it a second. Okay. So my idea here is I would want this to be something that I could share with the students in my class as a resource that maybe they could use while, I'm assigning 3 or 4 films by Clint Eastwood, giving them like opinionated full context on his career and what I think it means, and providing like a rich background for classroom discussion. You could tell this is pretty old because I thought Gran Torino was his last film. He's since made like 10 others. He's 95 years old. But anyway, what I like here is if you go back to the article, it's super long. It's long paragraphs, citing lots of sources. So here it's turned into something more presentable. Okay, this is not Clint Eastwood. So I would go into this image. I like this picture. Okay, the color is off on that, but I could also change the background color. Okay, make it white, then we can see the word political. And for these, I could link out either to my full article or, links to his films. Okay, wow, that's a really specific prompt. Let's get Clint Eastwood again. Do this one. Great. And then I could just publish it with one click and then send it out to my class. We would have full context for our discussion. Much more that I could do here from a design standpoint. This is another of our new smart diagrams. I think this is the iceberg. And again, I would want to make a lot of changes of color, etc. Okay, last thing here. I think we're getting close to 10:30, but here's a real course syllabus that I had 10 years ago. And let's say that I wanted to, where is it? Gottlieb English 125 final. So I remember as a college student, we had to wait outside the professor's doors to collect a course syllabus and decide if we wanted to take the class. And it was just a text-based printout. So what if you could advertise your course as a design-friendly multimedia website? So in this case, it was a college writing course called Writing the Visual in 2012, so this is 13 years ago. And of course, the idea behind the class is I would give them visual prompts in order to learn how to write. So it would make a lot of sense if it was a very visual web page. For this one, let's see what they come up with for illustrations. And I don't think we need 10 cards. Let's just do 6. Okay, that's interesting. So this is taking the, could be more concise. But basically, you would visit this website, you would understand everything from course policies to the assignments of books and films. You'd be able to email me directly. And then after this generates, I would probably spend 10 minutes making it far more visual. I like the way it lays out the week by week schedule in this format. Again, a real syllabus, I'd probably want it to be a lot longer, but anyway, this is something that, yeah, and then visit the Sweetland Writing Center. That was a resource for students, contact instructor. So again, if I spent like 20 minutes on this, I could make it really amazing. Could probably put a photo of myself here, although I don't have one handy. And I could put images of the books and films that we're using here. I just wanted to show you how easy that was. Looks like we're hitting 10:30, so we're going to switch to interviews, but I was going to take my college roommate, who's a professor at University of Iowa, and just take his CV and create a website for him in 2 minutes. Instead, I'll just do that for him as a gift, and we will move on. All right. So next we are going to chat with Damien Germino. Damien, maybe you could start just by telling us a little bit about the work you do both as an administrator and in the classroom at Mercy University.
Thanks. I appreciate being here. By the way, I would have taken that course if I saw that Gamma website of the syllabus. So nice work there. Well, first off, I'll say that Gamma to me has been not just a presentation platform or software, but has been kind of a whiteboard or a canvas for me to play around with, and that's from early days when I heard about it over a year and a half ago. So just a little bit about me. I'm the Associate Dean for Operations in the School of Nursing, and we are mainly doing a lot of the logistics on campus, all the way from clinicals to simulations to the events and activities for the students for that school. So my background, though, is more focused on psychology or applied psychology, a little bit of cognitive neuroscience, a little bit of Masters of Public Administration in there, and a sprinkling of product and management. So that's me in a nutshell.
Great. And we've spoken before about your use of Gamma, and I remember you mentioning that, converting your instructor slides to more appealing presentations was a major pain point. Can you paint a picture of what that process looked like before Gamma?
Yeah, I also explored many different presentation softwares, from Google Slides to PowerPoint to Canva to, you could just name the list all the way down. And I still find that Gamma, because of its very easy user interface, and it's kind of like I go in there, and as you saw just, in the presentations you give today, it's just so simple and easy for me to do at least. So when I was looking into Gamma, I was thinking, well, how can I convert my slides that were either in PowerPoint? I think I had a couple that were also in Keynote, and like a few different systems, right? And there were some that I had from the textbook that I could use for PDFs and then convert back. And I really was looking for a system that could kind of take all those inputs and also create outputs in Google Slides as well as PowerPoint and PDF. So I was looking for something that was both input, output, IO, right? And I thought that, Gamma would be great. And when I started using it for I think I was sold after 3-4 months, because I had a few courses that I was, planning on, and I wanted to work on maybe 5 or 6 different decks at one time.
Mhm.
And all the things were happening rather quickly. It allowed me to edit en masse, and I really just enjoyed it. And so that's what got me into it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think the other side of this, and of course, today we're focused on professors and teachers, but I know you mentioned that your students found Gamma easier than Google Slides. Like, what sort of specific reactions have you observed from them, both in their usage of Gamma and their, seeing Gamma as part of a presentation that you're giving?
So one of the courses that I taught and I wanted to extensively use Gamma for is an AI course, and it's in the communications department, but cross-listed with other other schools. And we decided that part of the requirement of that course was to use the AI and prompt in Gamma and to also do visualizations. I think Gamma, for me at least, was before the wave of visual going to large language models and having images generated. Gamma was really on the front part of that wave. I could get access to tons of different image generation models, and I think still it's out there where I can't go to all these different image generation models beyond using through Gamma. So that's another value proposition here. So the students enjoyed that. That was one thing, and they liked using those visualizations, the different types of visualizations in the slides. And then the other was just ease of use again. I could share my slides, have them commented out, then have them duplicate the slide. I also saw activity of which slides they were on or which cards they were on within my presentation. So these are all factors that played into how they presented it, as well as how I was engaging with them.
Interesting. So do you have students turning either giving presentations or turning in course assignments as Gammas?
Both, yeah. So for the AI course, because I was also separate communication, intro to communication course that I taught. But for the AI course, I had them go ahead and chat with the large language model, and we had one in our LMS as well, learning management system. And then I had them paste it into Gamma for it to summarize it. I also had them paste images in there. Some of them would have links to attachments. And like I said, it became like the medium outside of the learning management system that we were using to communicate and engage one another.
Got it. And I think among most of the educators and probably most of the people on this call who are using Gamma are sort of on the AI native side of the spectrum among all the teachers either in your departments or just in general. And I know you're definitely in that category, Damien. I think you're actually like part of an AI task force at your university. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, firstly, like what's a tip you would give educators who might be hesitant about AI tools? What are those hesitations about? How do you overcome that? And is that conversation different with other faculty than it is with students who I assume are more AI native?
So just to kind of parse it a little bit. So the first thing is I totally saw Gamma as a way to get faculty buy-in on using AI because it's a low bar for them to say, hey, I'm not just talking to a chat box screen. I'm already providing it either some slides, as you showed, a document, a syllabus, and you're creating a playground for them to use it. Whereas with a lot of the other learning, just learning management systems and large language models, you have to either have a shell that you're working within, so you're kind of confined by that, or you're uploading files to a canvas in those systems, but that is generated or regenerated every time you play with it. This kind of gives you a house to have all your different lectures, your different projects, your syllabi in one space. So that to me was a no-brainer, and I started talking about it more so with our Center for Teaching and Learning, and then we did this summer kind of like a AI lab where we had faculty come, both full-time, part-time faculty come and just really explore. We talked about a bunch of other models and other ways to kind of engage the models, and we used that Gamma, if you will, as like the roadmap for us. So we had like the slides, which I would call them really like you can nest these cards. And so it's like you have this meta thing like you mentioned earlier, where you have a card inside a card. So a person would be responsible for these 4 things, and you have a checklist on that card, and you expand that card. So, I mean, beyond just showing you, think of it as really like a Kanban board, but not really having to move cards around. So that was one way to show them. That was one way to actually use it. And then the other was just in general, when faculty want to jump into something, I always say the best thing to do is to just experiment and test it out. Perhaps be on the front end of the curve where they're exploring more than the students are telling them about it.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think like something I would find challenging if I was teaching in a classroom right now is it seems like students and faculty are on different parts of that AI adoption curve. And I think things are only going to get, which I think is like a complicated and potentially dangerous thing. I think it gets easier once there's more of a symmetry in how folks are using these tools. So, I mean, I'm tempted to go back into the classroom armed with Gamma, just to see how that changes things. But I just want to say, like, before we move to Irina, and thank you so much, Damien, like, as a grad student, I was teaching, but I was also, writing my dissertation, which, didn't get very far. But the question everyone asks you at every dinner and every conversation is, what's your dissertation about? And I did not have like the 2 to 3 sentence elevator pitch for that. I wish I had Gamma, and I could have given it like all my notes and everything I'd actually written for the dissertation and have it depict it in a engaging, visually forward way. That would have been super useful for me. Probably would have helped me if I had gone on the job market in academia as well, which is a whole other can of worms. But thank you so much, Damien. We're gonna move to Irina.
If I could just kind of like just segue what you just
Sure.
said, and also what Irina just said, Notebook LM. The feature of Notebook LM about having an audio of that, I actually did for my dissertation. But what I found is that when I use Gamma, people are more visually inclined. And so even though the audio is there, 8-minute audio for someone to play might stop. Whereas if you give them a web page of your dissertation or of your syllabus, they're more likely to click on that and peruse it than to spend 8 minutes just listening to the audio or summary of your podcast of your dissertation.
For sure. Yeah. And to answer that question quickly from Tyler, which we can go into more detail, like absolutely. Gamma is part of a lot of people's AI workflow. We do have Perplexity as one of the LLMs that we're using to generate outlines, but we often see people go back and forth in Claude or Perplexity to really generate a really crisp outline before they even move anything into Gamma. Notebook LM, of course, as well, to synthesize, the large amounts of research that a lot of academics are doing. But let's move to Irina. Again, you are from the UK, so I imagine the context is slightly different there. I know you also want to share your screen. But when we met a few weeks ago, I know you have a concept called phygital learning, which you'll share your screen so people can understand what that looks like spelled out. Would love to know or to have you share what that means and why you think it's important in today's educational landscape.
I did prepare, thank you, Akiva. I did prepare some slides. So first of all, so I will not drift away, but also to demonstrate the capability of Gamma and what I do with phygital learning. And that is something that I've done, I guess, straightforwardly. We have a physical environment where we work. We also have digital environment and artificial intelligence that is now part of it. And with phygital learning, myself, I am doing all of that, but I also believe that students now need to be comfortably working across all those domains at the same time, digital, physical, and artificial intelligence. I'm kind of doing that simultaneously. That is being AI native, digitally native. So that's what phygital means. It's the convergence of those three.
Got it. And for you, like what specific challenges were you facing in your teaching that led you to explore AI tools and Gamma?
So I came across Gamma approximately a year ago when I was on the verge of teaching a brand new module. And I was absolutely desperate for a tool because I got used to working with AI, but I wanted a tool that would help me to bring my level of visual on par with what our students usually see. Because I think we talk about Gen Z students, and they are digitally native. Gen Alpha students that are not yet in the universities, they are AI native, and they have the social media space that is visual quality is absolutely unparalleled, addictive, and also emotionally addictive, and appears to have some meaning to the audience. And I thought that in order to get their attention, in order to bring the quality of my slides to the level of what they are usually seeing, I needed to have it in the form that is engaging. And the Gamma helped me to match the form to the content that I was making. And I tried to emphasize here on the slide that you see how I see it. So we talk about professional consistent design. And by the way, when I started to work with Gamma, I started to learn and kind of develop that sense of what is good design or what is not good design, impactful and relevant images that I will make my own images with AI. And of course, cohesive visual storytelling. That is what I'm not talking about branding, maybe I could, but there is one lecture, and the lecture is designed as one coherent thing, thanks to Gamma.
Got it. Can you show us a little bit what that looks like? I'm sure you have a specific example or a demo.
I do have some examples here. So for instance, here I have, so I was born in Soviet Union, and the module that I was developing is about emerging markets. And I wanted to bring that story of how rapid development of a country was happening for me, first of all. And here you have 3 sets of slides. There's me on one of them, but also you have some other pictures there. And how could I find those visuals? I couldn't. I would have to go online and find a real thing. But here, perhaps when you look at that Beauty and the Beast and you see the children gather around the screen, there is some emotional element to that. And that is how you connect with your students. So they see part of me, my story there, and we move on to a lecture. And I do
I just want to point out, I think what I'm seeing is 3 separate types of images. Like the tank image, I assume, is like from a web search.
no, it's Gamma. It's generated. It's
Oh,
AI.
okay. Well, you can web search in Gamma also, but yeah, the second one looks like an AI image, but less photorealism. The third one you said is you, so it must be a personal image. So you're just showing even there like the versatility of design that you can generate just by plugging in different images.
Yeah, and also how everything looks. So it kind of has the same feel to it. Of course, I can still work with it and make it better, but it helped me to develop my story and connect with my students on emotional level,
Mhm.
on this human being level. Because essentially we're talking about development, and I'm telling them how I remember parts of what was happening.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful.
I also have this example, which I absolutely love. So, how do you generate a visual that precisely illustrate your mind? So, I have this idea on your right, you just a textbook idea of volatile, uncertain, and complex and ambiguous environment of emerging markets. And I have a slide here that students may not remember, but I had this idea of a ship that when we face risks, I wanted to instill this idea that you do not have to run from the risk, but you do not have to kind of face it head on, but you can manage it. And you're like captain of your ship, you have your dashboard and you have your crew, you have your compass, and the ship and the sea is that volatile environment. And with AI, I generated that image and then I animated that. Students remember that.
Mhm.
They still remember that visual, and I guess that is a difference between text slide and the visual part. And I agree with Damien, who was you saying about the visual part. That is something that connects on emotional level to people, and I guess that's why it's so effective.
I just want to add, I hope everyone in this room knows that you can animate any image in Gamma now, just by clicking into the image and typing in animate this image. And I've seen Irina actually, you had another Gamma where you took like an image of a car, which I think was generated by Napkin AI, and then you brought it into Gamma and animated it, and it was like
Oh
a race
yes,
car moving.
yes. I
Which
do not have. Yeah.
yeah, we shared that on our internal Slacks. I think we hadn't seen anyone do that before. But yeah, you can animate it. I could have animated Clint Eastwood's face, but didn't want to.
Oh, I have this.
Yeah.
That's what I like. So this is
Yeah.
it's a real picture, but you now have it in animation, and you can see that me is kind of duplicating. I don't know. There's no word.
Oh, okay. So that's not a video. That's a picture that you made.
That's a picture that I animated, and I made a GIF out of that, and I reinserted it into Gamma.
Yeah.
And so it's just for fun. I put that when I present now in conferences, I use it.
Amazing. We'll go to questions in a couple minutes, but I know you have more to share here. Is there a third example?
I do have, well, what I've done with Gamma that's less digital, more how it helped me. We talked about undergraduate dissertations, and I was supervising some students this year, and I thought that dissertation is a unique undergraduate dissertation. They have their unique topic, but parts of the dissertation is, well, how do you write those technicalities? And although they have all the support, they have lectures, they have seminars, as a supervisor, I felt a bit I have to support them. But when we meet with them, I didn't want to spend time on just reiterating all those technicalities. I wanted to focus on what was really important, the unique aspects of the dissertation. And I created those several guides with the help of AI, me conversing with AI, writing everything, very colorful, very visual, it's something that I wanted to do myself, and I have this like neon punk style. I don't know if it's even the word, but I share that with my students, but I also share this with colleagues online. And there are a couple of posts on LinkedIn that I've made, and they gathered enormous amount of attention. And I had some comments from students. I wish that they had that during their undergraduate dissertations. My colleagues also commented on how they really like that. And I guess that there is something like an untapped potential where you can put your own ideas into AI, make it into what you want to do, and then ask Gamma to help even further refine it.
Got it. And I guess my last question for you, like how has student engagement or the learning outcomes changed since you started using Gamma?
I think they notice the difference. They notice that something has changed. They notice the effort. They notice the visual part, and they paid much more attention. But ultimately, for me, the important thing was that I do know that some of my students, when they were applying for jobs, which is really high stake thing, they used Gamma.
That's amazing. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Even as we, review job candidates at Gamma, it's amazing that some of them still don't use Gamma for their presentations. And those that do, I don't know if I'm giving them extra credit because they're using Gamma or it just looks so much better, or they feel so much more confident. But
The
yeah,
amount of storytelling
yeah,
that, well, because I've seen it, how they put things together in
yeah,
such a unique way, and that's what you were saying in the beginning, how you let your imagination to run wild to some kind of.
yeah.
That's just amazing. For me, it was amazing because I could see that magic happening.
Hmm. I know it's time for Q&A. It seems like a lot of the questions have already been answered. But I want to return to Tyler's question, and also open up to the chat as well, which was, have any of you used other AI to go with Gamma? He usually uses Perplexity, creates info, then goes to ChatGPT and has it create a 10-page outline presentation deck. I guess the way I would pose this question to you both is, what are the tools that work best with Gamma for you as part of an education workflow? Gamma can do a lot. We don't expect it to do it all. I'm curious what else you're using. Maybe Damien, you can start.
Sure. So one tool that I've used to create a PDF is u.com. So u.com is like an aggregate of all different large language models, and that has the Perplexity, has the ChatGPT, the Gemini model. And so what I do with that is I'll have it generate footnote based, so it's grounded in actual sources, and then I take that PDF and I'll put it into Gamma to visualize it. They have some visuals in those PDFs, but they're really rudimentary and it's not getting at the crux of what I want. And because it has the footnotes, which is, I think, a key thing in academia, being able to cite and, show your sources, that is helpful to kind of make that come alive in Gamma, that PDF.
Cool. What about you, Irina?
For me, I use ChatGPT, Gemini, Notebook LM, variety of outputs that they provide. But majority of my cases is when I am creating things from scratch myself. So I have an idea. I may not have technical ability to fulfill it at every single step of the way. And I would, for example, I wanted students to have the physical and digital presence at the same time, sort of. I've designed cards with Gamma, so there are questions and I wanted to make them visual. I've designed those cards. ChatGPT helped me to question everything properly with Gamma. I then refined how it sounds, like all the lines. I've created cards. I printed them, cut them into pieces, and I actually have them couple of cards here, like this, for instance, like this. We put them on the table during the lecture face down, and I had Gamma open on the big screen, and students were taking one card at a time. They had to read it and they have to think about how to answer it. And then for everyone to see, we would have that Gamma open. So we would open that particular kind of card. So no one knows what's going on next. They could consult with AI again. I would allow that if they want to, so they can have their phone, they can talk to it. It's all part of that training on how you could simultaneously engage in physical activity, but also digital. But at the same time, I don't think that on my own, within the amount of time it took me to do that, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I love physical gammas. We don't see them enough. I want to share a couple things before we adjourn. And firstly, just again, thank you so much to Irina and Damien, who are both really like core power users of our product. And I've learned so much from you both. But just for everyone else in the group, firstly, 3 things to try in Gamma today, if you haven't tried them before. One is posting directly to LinkedIn. There's something we put in the product a few months ago. You can create a social carousel. When you hit share and export, you can post it directly to LinkedIn. There may be other places that academics congregate, but certainly many other professionals, LinkedIn is our key focus. If I had more time, I would go back to my writing the visual syllabus, go back into the prompt and turn it into an advertisement for my course on Instagram or LinkedIn, or who knows where the students are hanging out today, but I would go there and advertise my course. The second one, it sounds like a lot of you already know that you can edit and animate an image with AI. So just double click any image, ask AI, suggest your edits. Gamma's amazing, but with images, I almost always want to make tweaks or changes no matter which model I'm using. We've made it really easy to do so. And the last one is to follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube if you're not already. But really, this is a question, and I would love to see answers in the chat. But you can also reach out to me directly. So I put this as a hypothetical. If we were creating a teaching with AI course, what we wanted to cover, we actually will be creating this as one of the first courses in our Learning Academy, which is one of my big projects for the fall. So I'm curious, you know, when we're creating this course, what kinds of things would you want it to cover? Obviously, we would cover, you know, basic elements of design, how to use the different functionality from, you know, pasting to prompting to, you know, importing. But is there anything else that you feel would be really paramount? ADA compliance in Gamma, super important. Heidi Joe says they love posting carousels to LinkedIn. But anything else you want to see in here, if it doesn't come to you right away, please do email me, akiva@gamma.app. The idea is we want to create something where those of you who have colleagues who might be curious about this design tool or curious about AI in general, that you could send them this course, you know, probably be around 90 minutes. They could enroll and learn a ton about how to engage their classrooms. Yeah, Damien says polls and embeds and footnotes in Gamma. Nick can correct me if I'm wrong. I know footnotes is not a core functionality right now, but we did create headers and footers a few months ago. Embeds, we can definitely put that in the course. You can use all kinds of forms, and there's a lot you can do with other tools, bring them into Gamma that you can't do with Gamma alone. But other than that, really appreciate you all joining us. I know you are all either super busy with the semester already starting or super busy with your planning. Hopefully some of the stuff you learned today will make that process a little bit easier. So we will send this recording out. Feel free to share it with your peers. Reach out anytime. I'm akiva@gamma.app. And many, many more events to come. This is the last one we'll be doing with Zoom webinar. We have an exciting new product we're rolling out for the next one. So look forward to seeing you all, and thanks for spending your Tuesday morning or evening with us. And thanks so much to Damien and Irina.
You're welcome.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye.